Hello and welcome to Fiona's Creative Canvas. Today I'm going to be doing my Christmas ornaments. I have a go at doing some every year. The last 2 years I've made acrylic pouring ornaments, but this year I thought I would use the laser engraver and cutter from Creality and cut out some ornaments and add some resin infill to give it a bit of gloss and sparkle and colour. So I'm going to be using this basswood. And I've already sprayed this piece with a bit of primer. I'm going to cut out 9 ornament bases out of that. And that's what my resin will be going on. And then this one here, I have divided it up into thirds and painted some white. I've left some natural and some gold because I want to show you the different types of finishes that you can get. So let's take that off now, and then under here it should just be the natural wood. And I've worked on the files. I've got some SVG files, done it so that I've got a base layer, and then this will be the top layer that goes on top of the base, and then I'll fill the gaps in with the resin. So we need to take this over to the laser engraver, actually both of them, and cut out our designs. Okay, so here's the Creality Falcon laser engraver, and I've set it up in a different room than I had it before because there's a door in this room and I can push the pipe straight out the door. It also, this room also has another window which I can open up to get airflow through. So let's get started with our first layer, which is going to be the base layer. I'm going to pop in my basswood that's coated in a primer. So let's just reduce this to 80, and then I can move that into place. Right, and so I'll make it to 85. And then I will hit frame and just make sure that it's going to cut them all out. Make sure that that laser goes all the way around the edge and doesn't go over the edge, because then I know all the cuts are going to be on the piece. Obviously, if you want really big ones, you could put 4 on a sheet or something like that. Alright, let's start that. And we'll get to see what the actual size of these are. They actually look quite big. I'm happy with that size. Okay, so that's been cut. Let's have a look. Hopefully it's cut all the way through because I didn't do a test. Ooh. Oh, and now I've moved it. Oh no! It didn't quite go all the way through. Oh no. I don't know if I can line that up again. Alright, so it hasn't cut all the way through. I should have tested it. Now I'm going to have to see if I can line it up again, which is a big problem because you've got to get it precise. So let's take another photo and see if I can line this up. Let's do a frame, see how close that is. Yeah, I do get it close. Looks like it's cutting on the same line. Yeah, it looks pretty good. I think I've done a good job at lining it up. I think I can break those through. Okay, I'm going to put the next piece in. And I've got to be careful how I line all this one up because I've got the different sections. The one thing I'm going to change is just slow down the speed slightly, and then I'm going to check it before I pull it out to see if they've all, if it's cut all the way through. Oh, that fell through, which means it cut properly. Perfect. It's going to take about an hour. Yeah, that's perfect now. So all I did was change the speed and just made it a little bit slower, and it's cut all the way through now, so that's good. Okay, so just by making that slight change to the speed, it looks like it's worked out perfectly, I think. I mean, I can see this one's, look at that. So that's worked out well. Let's see if I can get it out. Oh yeah, look, so these have cut through perfectly. So I'm going to check them against my bases and see whether I need to recut the bases. I should have done a test beforehand to make sure that they were cutting through properly, but you know, we'll get it right next time. Okay, so here are my top pieces and here are my base pieces. So just checking whether it fits. It fits quite well, and then the resin will go into the gaps. So I'm just going to score along these little spots that it's missed. So yeah, in future I should do a test on a scrap piece just to make sure I've got my settings right. Yeah, so I'll just cut all these out and then I'll get some glue out and I'll show you how I'm going to glue it together, because it's going to be important to make sure it's sealed, because the resin will seep through any gaps. I've cut all these out now. Now I know there's one of them that is slightly different, this rounded one. So that's going to go with this one. So what I want to do now is I'm going to get a paper plate and I'm going to brush on some glue. I'm going to dip and make sure the whole thing is covered in glue without getting any drips down the sides. But I want to make sure it's completely covered because I don't want any gaps. Any gaps will, the resin will leak out of. Let's just start with that and see if my theory is going to work. Might start with a white one, even though this should dry clear. Ooh. Make sure that's covered there. So I can see a few spots that aren't covered. All right, let's try that. So let's keep going with that. Wriggle. Wipe any excess glue off. Okay, so I just need to let those dry now, and then we can make up some resin colours. Just show you the colours that I've got. I've got this gold, which is actually quite different to that gold. I might see if I can find another gold colour. I've got some red, that's Just Resin's ATD Fireball. I've got some blue, which is Tidal Blue. That's a powder. This is a paste, that's Pearl White. And I've got some sparkly bits and pieces that I might use. And I've got this green from Let's Resin. It's a dark green. I wonder if Let's Resin has a gold. That might be a better gold. I think that one's actually going to be better. Fits in more with the golds that I've got. Yeah, so this is there's a bunch of different colours in here. That's a 36 pack. So if you're just like starting out or something and you want to try a bunch of colours, That's a good way to go. Okay, so I've grabbed some tools out. I've got some little mixing cups, a bigger mixing cup. I've got some of these pipettes, I think that's what they're called, out for trying to get into the smaller spots. Some stirring sticks, and I've got my resin. I'm going to be using the tabletop epoxy resin by Let's Resin, and I've got my safety mask and gloves for this process. I've also grabbed out this little canvas and this, just in case I've got some left over. I thought I might pour each colour in and pour it on for a little piece of art if I've got enough. So what I want to do now, I think, is just with a pencil get a bit of an idea of what colours I'm doing, because I don't want to be thinking too much once I've got the resin mixed. So blue, white, blue, and I think I'll do the outside gold, and this will just be blue, red, red, white, white, maybe make the outside green, red, let's go white. All right, let's try that. Let's get the gloves on and then the mask on, open up the window and start mixing. Let's start with this one. That one's actually going to be pretty hard. Where's an easy one? This should be the easiest one, I think. I'm just going to create a little bit there. Let's keep going with the red. And push it into the corners. Getting the hang of how to get it in there now though. I'm gonna get some alcohol. These two here, I am going to, as you can see, the red has leached into the timber. You can't see it on the ones that are painted, so painting obviously helps. The other colours haven't done any leaching, it's just the red. So I tried painting over the raw timber first with a chrome marker, but that soaked into the timber, and then I tried acrylic paint, that was better. So just touching up a few little, like there's a little scorch mark there. Just get rid of those, and any extra shiny bits just take the shine out a bit so it matches the rest of the paint job. So here is the final result. The two ornaments that I tried to paint afterwards just didn't look as clean as the pre-painted ones, but doing the little touch-ups on the other ones worked well. I think the clean cuts with the laser engraver mixed with the glossy resin looks really cool. I added just a little bit of sparkle to the pearl white just to give that colour a little bit of bling. And you can get really creative with the colours that you use, the paint that you use on the basswood, and the different colours of the resin to match your Christmas theme. Big thank you to Creality for supplying the Falcon laser engraver and cutter. I've had a fun time using it. There will be links to the products in the description if that's something you're interested in. That's it for this one, guys. I hope you enjoyed it, and I shall see you all in the next one. Bye.